guys, my name is Marta, welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my Victober TBR. Victober is a yearly readathon that takes place during the month of October and that it's dedicated to reading as many Victorian novels. Hosts have changed over the years, and this year I think it's the one with the greatest number of hosts. So before I get to the books I'm going to be reading for each of the challenges, I am going to quickly shout them out, and I will link their channels down below so you can check them out. They are Katie, Kate Howie, Marisa, Petra and Ross. They are all amazing. They've all done an amazing job designing this year's Victober, and I highly just suggest, as I just said, you check out their channels. And now, without further ado, let's get to the challenges and I will show you what I plan on reading for each of them. The first challenge is to read the group book, which is Thomas Hardy's The Mayor of Casterbridge, which is apparently about a drunk man who once sold his wife and now is trying to amend his past mistakes. I don't know anything about the book, but that synopsis I just read in the back of it, but I am pretty intrigued by it. Thomas Hardy is an author that I have always been intrigued by. I read Tess of the Dubervilles this summer, and even though I didn't love it as much as I expected to, I think I wasn't in the mood for it. So I'm excited to see what this one is about and to find out whether I like Hardy or whether I just don't really vibe with his stories. Next challenge is to read a piece of poetry, and for this challenge I decided to read my Everyman's Library edition of Christina Rossetti's poems. I've been fascinated by the pre-Raphaelites and by their art ever since I heard of them a few years ago. Even though I examined a few of their visual art pieces, I have never dived into their poetry. So I think now, during this Victober, it's going to be a nice time to finally get introduced to one of the major female figures of this movement. I hope I like it. The only thing I know is that her poems are very fairy-tale-esque, and that is something that sounds really exciting. So I cannot wait to discover what they are all about and what Christina Rossetti had to say. Another challenge is to read a piece of Victorian literature that talks or that has a disabled or ill or chronically ill character. And for this challenge I'm going to be reading a book that I do not own yet, but that is on its way to me, and it is Life in the Sick Room by Harriet Martineau. This is a piece of non-fiction in which the author shares her experience as a chronically ill person. I think it's supposed to be a very important memoir that has allowed people to know how life was for disabled and chronically ill people in this time. So I am very excited to read it. I do not own it yet, so I can share my copy with you, but if I can, I will be for sure putting a picture right here. Also, I have never read any memoir from this time period, so I am very excited to dive into it. Next challenge is to read a Bildungsroman, roman, and for this challenge I'm going to be reading Elizabeth Barrett Browning's Aurora Lee. I read Sonnets from the Portuguese by her early in the year and I fell in love with her poetic voice, so I am very excited to read what is considered her most important work. I think this is the story of an artist growing up as a woman and as an artist. She's supposed to have drawn a lot of inspiration from her own experience, and I am super excited for it. I know nothing but what I have said about it. Elizabeth Barrett Browning, one of my favorite poems, not only from the Victorian period but in general, so I am super excited to read this work of hers. Next challenge is to read a book and watch a film adaptation of it. And as I am not really a big movie person, I decided to change this challenge a little bit, and I am going to be reading and watching a performance of Mrs. Warren's Profession by Bernard Shaw. Bernard Shaw is one of my favorite late Victorian, early 20th century playwrights, and I always been intrigued by Mrs. Warren's profession as a play, so I guess now it's the perfect time for me to read it, and also why not watch a performance of on YouTube. This play is one of the author's most popular ones, and as the two other plays of his that I've read, this one also discusses women and class, and those are two concepts that I really like reading about, so I cannot wait to see how he deals with them in this play. And last challenge is to read a short story. For this challenge, I do not have a set short story I want to read, but I do have two short story collections to share with you, from which I will read either one short story or the entirety of the book. The first one of them is Elizabeth Gaskell's Gothic Tales. This is a book that I've owned for the longest time. It was in fact in my first ever Victober TBR that I set when I still did not have this channel. However, I did not get to it, and every year since I've been trying to read it during either Halloween or Victober, but I never do. So once again, this year I am putting it on my TBR, and hopefully I will get to at least one story in it. Elizabeth Gaskell is also a Victorian author with whose writing style I really vibe with, so I am excited to read something from her since it's been a while since the last time I did so. And the other book of short stories that I have is Margaret Oliphant's A Beleaguered City and Other Tales of the Seen and the Unseen. This is an author that I have not read anything about, but the stories in this collection are supposed to be supernatural, mysterious, and eerie. So perfect for the Halloween spooky season. And even though I do not know anything else about them, there is something that really draws my attention to them. So I will most likely be reading at least the first story in the collection. And even though that is all for the books that I want to read for each of the challenges, that is not all that I want to read for Victober. In fact, I want to read as much Victorian fiction as I can during next month. So next week I will be posting a video in which I will be sharing with you every single Victorian book that I own, and from that list of books I will be choosing what I want to read during the month depending on my mood. Also during Victober I plan on uploading Victober related videos, so stay tuned for that. I have already some of them planned, but others will most likely be either reviews or weekly updates on my reading. Yeah, I think that is all for today. I am super excited for Victober. This year I am really committed to it, not as I have done the last 3-4 years. And comment down below if you are participating in the Victober. Comment down below which books you are reading for each of the challenges. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. And I hope you guys gone amazing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!